guys. For those that don't know me, I'm Abigail. For those that do, hiya, welcome back. Today one of the things I wanted to address was spells, manifestations, curses. Firstly, I'd like to say, not Hollywood. Hollywood get it wrong on so many levels. I think probably the only thing that I've seen where Hollywood's actually got it right to a certain degree is that often poetry will tie into a spell. So the difference between a spell and a curse is very, very slight in the fact that it is just intent. Your intent to do good or your intent to do harm. But I do use quite a lot of spells in my work. It's been a long, really hard journey, and often spells will backfire. Um, so when you're looking to do spells, you can learn all the theory, but there's a certain something in a person that will help manifest that spell. I used to know a quite elderly lady who was really, really amazing at manifesting. She could just do it. And the reason she could was because she never made it conditional. She didn't have children, most of her family had passed on. So there was no, can I have this, as long as nothing happens to my children, or as long as nothing bad happens. It was just, I need this, please can I have it? And she got it. So spells, manifestations, curses, prayers, and to a certain level poetry are all very much intertwined, as are things like wishes. Okay? Some cultures do have amazing spellcasters. I know of some amazing spellcasters in Papua New Guinea. I know of some amazing spellcasters in Zimbabwe. Um, what is good and what is bad can be dependent on the history of the culture. So with Zimbabwe, they had so much of their culture wiped out with colonialism. Some of their like love spells with regard to people of breeding age we wouldn't do in European or an Australian culture because it's about free will. This idea of no self gain, that again is Hollywood. If we want a good job, it's not unreasonable to manifest it or cast a spell for it. If this is something you're interested in, it is really worth trying to find a good teacher. I have to say, not me. I'm a bit old. My body's not going to take the battering that you will go through if this is the path that you take. For me personally, I've been thrown across the room. I've been pushed out of bed. I don't regret it. But it's something you really have to think long and hard before you decide this is going to be what you want to do. We can start off easily in making sure that we can find a car park space near to where we want to go. We can start off with simple manifestations. If we're running late, we want green lights. So what we often do is we start off with the very basic things. I want to have somewhere to park when I get to the venue. I had this a few years ago when I was in Sydney. We wanted to go to this particular church, and I said to my friend, oh, we'll be able to park outside the door. And she said, no, we're just not going to be able to. And sure enough, we parked outside the door. So that's your basic introduction into spells. Sometimes we do make them poetic, and that is because they're easier to remember. They flow. So when you're casting the spell, especially if you're using circle and you're using a lot of ritual, it does make it easier to remember, so that because you've got to be very careful you're not contradicting yourself. Once you put it out there, it needs to be clear, it needs to be concise. There's no wavy lines. Please give me a good job as long as my children are happy. Please give me a good job as long as nothing happens to my animals. Please give me a good job, but don't let my husband or my partner or my friend lose their job. So it's a really interesting area of study and definitely one I would recommend. But there's always going to be spells that will backfire a little bit. So I've had a few backfire on me. I've been quite actually happy with the results. I ended up with a black cat from one of the spells that went wrong, and he is the love of my life, which is exactly what I asked for. So it's fun. It's fun. But there is a serious side to it, and if you have any nasty in your soul when you're casting it, do not cast it. There is a line that you don't cross. Every now and again, I admit I have crossed it when it comes to the protection of children, and I've taken the karmic consequences of crossing that, which isn't fun. But you do need to be aware that if you have even that slightly nasty side to your nature, or a jealousy or envy, your spells could backfire quite harshly on you. There's two no-nos. One is a truth spell, that because there's a saying you can't handle the truth, and unfortunately that truth spell can really come back and bite you on the bum. And the other big no-no is love spells. Do not do love spells. You are trying to force your will onto someone else and change their free will. That's a big no-no. It will always backfire, and it will always end up negative. Okay, thank you for your time, and hopefully I will see you next week. Bye guys.